A new Division I women's tennis ranking did come out, and it goes as follows. I apologize for looking down because I cannot memorize all the stuff. It is a set of computer rankings, by the way. And I'm going to just mention this up front. If you have a losing record, you're not making the NCAAs, even if you're projected to be in based on ranking alone. You've got to be 500 or better. That's the rule in all this. So, just a heads up. And I'll definitely go like the last four and next four, like the last four buys in terms of at-larges, and the same thing goes for like the first four out and the next four out in terms of at-larges, of course, because I'm not including conference leaders in all this. And the top 8 seed and the top 16, because there is a difference, because top 8 you get to host first 3 rounds potentially, as long as you win the first 2 rounds. If you don't, that top 16 seed could very well host, unless that top 16 seed also loses in the first before then in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA. So that's just a heads up right there. 1 through 25 goes as follows: Georgia, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Auburn, North Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma, Virginia, Pepperdine, USC, Arizona State. You know what's crazy is they're in a 3-way tie for first place in the Big 12 right now. Yeah, they're not all by themselves. LSU, Vanderbilt, NC State, Michigan, UCLA, Florida, UCF, Tennessee, TCU, Washington, Duke, California, Clemson, and South Carolina. Now, I'm going to go over like the next 15 as well and kind of give like quote receiving votes teams. And those would be like Utah, BYU. I did learn something about that BYU versus Baylor match. It was just unfortunate on what happened. One of the players like slammed a racket at like on the chair of the, like went near the chair umpire. That should have been a forfeit at one of the courts on court 1, but it is what it is. The umpires and could have been handling that better. I'm just making that point because BYU did later on beat Baylor 4-3, and Baylor did have like a fourth rule on court 1 anyway, and like in the tiebreaker at 6-6, and that was the match. So really, if they would have handled that situation where the slammed the racket at the chair of the chair umpire, yeah, that would have been a 4-3 win for Baylor. And obviously, I know if Baylor would have won the doubles point, they would have won the match, or even held at 5-4, 40 all on the deciding point. They would have won anyway, despite not having that help. I mean, not like technically based on that rule alone. So I'm just making a point about that. And there's obviously like Wichita State, Arizona, SMU, Wisconsin, Charlotte, Texas Tech, Baylor, Miami, Florida, Houston, actually, Oklahoma State. They're 8-10, and the question is, are they really going to be healthy? Because they had to forfeit the last 3 matches now, including 2 last weekend. They just did not have enough able bodies. Yeah, they have like Kansas at home next, and then Iowa State at home. I think the question is, are they really going to have enough bodies? Because if they do lose one of those matches, they would have to win. Like if they even play Iowa State and they beat them though, that would be 9-11, and they have to win 3 conference tournament matches just to make sure they're for sure in. But if they don't play, they would be 8-12, or don't win for sure. That would be 8-12, and then they have to win the whole conference tournament in order to make NCAAs. Crazy. I know. It's just the injury luck for them is gone against them. Maybe some could say because of that, what happened with that former head coach Chris Young on the tampering, they deserved it in terms of the losses, but I didn't want them to lose that way. Of course, I'd rather let them have them lose in a different way, like really play out the matches instead of like forfeit. So you guys get the point. And there's Ole Miss, Kansas, and San Diego State. And the next 2, if you want to include that, would be Iowa and San Diego. Yeah, San Diego's really flirting with the 500 rule right now. They're 9-9. They have to make sure they don't put themselves in that position of being left out potentially. Now, in terms of the NCAA projection, of course, this is like based on regional, like in terms of travel on where teams get sent. That's the way it is. But in terms of at larges, that the kicker with Iowa right now is they're below 500, but they have some matches left in the Big Ten. Maybe they'll get above 500 and they don't have to worry about that 500 rule altogether. So I'm just making that point right now. If Iowa were to win a certain amount of matches, I think they're for sure in the NCAAs. And there's obviously like San Diego and Nebraska. And right before that would be like Kansas. In terms of at larges, I'm not including like conference leaders at this time. Of course, I'm not. Technically, the last 4 in Nebraska. 1, 3, 4. And technically, the last 4 buys would be Kansas. Would be Ole Miss, Oklahoma State if they could get above 500 or right at 500. I'm just saying that right now. Houston, Miami, Florida, Baylor. If you really don't want to include Oklahoma State, then it's Texas Tech 2. So yeah. Now in terms of the first 4 out in terms of at larges, that would be like Maryland, Notre Dame, Stanford, and Alabama. Technically. Like the next 4 out would be Arkansas, Boise State, Penn State, and Rice. And they do use like the NCAA like comparison on like who should get in and who shouldn't. Like top 50 wins, strength of schedule, head to head. And common opponents as well. So those 3 things do matter in this sport. Now, in terms of like the 1 through 8, that would be like Georgia, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Auburn, North Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma, and Virginia. The 9 through 16 would be like Pepperdine, USC. Arizona State is only up there in a 3-way tie right now as a leader because of the ranking system. There's obviously LSU, NC State, Vanderbilt, Michigan, and UCLA. Obviously, for those bubble teams, you got to avoid bad losses as much as you can while getting some quality wins. And obviously, if you win your conference tournament, you're automatically in NCAAs. And if you're like flirting with that, and I know 3 of the Power 4 conferences, their last regular season matches are coming up, and then obviously conference tournaments like the next week. Just a heads up there. Now, for those top 8, if you want to continue to be top 8, you got to avoid bad losses and win as much as you can. For those top 16, you got to avoid bad losses and you've got to get some quality wins. And if you get so far in the conference tournament, you have a good chance of moving up. And this is like besides like hoping other teams around you don't win as much as you can, but you can't control that. Now, my top 10 for Division I women's tennis goes as follows: Georgia, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Auburn, North Carolina, Texas, Virginia, Pepperdine, Oklahoma, and USC. Outside looking in would be Arizona State, LSU, Vanderbilt, NC State, Michigan, UCLA, and Florida. And the tricky thing is for Arizona State, I don't think they're going to be top 8. Even if they win the whole, if the only way they would get top 8 is to get so much help, and then they would have to win the whole conference tournament. And they're not like invincible by any means because they barely beat Baylor at Baylor 4-3. They even lost to TCU. So you guys get the point. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe button. See you guys later. On the road, 8 unsubscribes, course, ultimate goal is to add more. So my mind this course I video. Comment really helps YouTube background. Some more people see the video does help as well. Some more people could watch it. And if you're watching and subscribe, hit subscribe button. It's free. Hit the notification bell as well.